Hi there, grade 11s. Welcome to the channel. Ladies and gents, if this is your first time watching the lesson, please do the right thing, join the family, subscribe to the channel, and we'll make sure that you feel at home. So on this lesson, we're going to work on grade 11 maths, final exam preparations. We're going to work on this question paper. We're going to answer all the questions, and this is out of 130 marks. Please read the following instructions carefully. Make sure that you read the instruction when you get in your exam. Let's start with question 1. Look at what we have on this question 1. Also, look at the mark allocation. Okay. So, ladies and gents, on this question, in order for us to get a distinction, out of 28 marks, we need to collect 23 marks. So, this will give you close to 82%. Okay, 82% on this question. Let's try and work on this one. So, when you solve questions, make sure that you also look at the mark allocations. Very important. So, if you look at these 2 marks and you look at the question, you can see that already the first question, it's already factorized. You just have to use the zero factor, the zero product property law, and solve for x, meaning that when you have two terms, a multiplied by b, and they are equated to 0, you can say a is 0 or b is 0. If you have two factors that are multiplying each other and are equated to 0, you just have to take the first factor equated to 0, or you can take the second factor and equate it to 0. So when we solve for x, bring the 3 to the other side, it becomes positive. Your x is 3. Or on the other side, we bring the 1 to the other side. So this will be 2x is equal to minus 1. Then divide both sides by 2. This will give us x as minus 1 over 2. And that's a 2-mark question. Okay, so now when they give you, this is just only 2 marks. Now, how are they going to mark this? There will be 1 mark for this answer, 1 mark for that one. That's how you collect the 2 marks. Okay, without wasting time, let's move to the next question. When you look at this, it's not the zero product property, ladies and gents, because yes, we have two factors, we are multiplying two factors. So a it's x, b it's 2x minus 8. But now look at the mark allocation. This is 4 marks, and if you look, this is equated to a constant value, not 0. So we can't use the zero product property. We need to first multiply out of the bracket, put this in the correct standard form. We need to put it in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Let's multiply out the bracket. I'm going to multiply everything that is inside the bracket by that x, which gives us 2x squared minus 8x. This is equals to 3. How about we just move the 3 to the other side, because we need to put everything on one side. So this will be minus 3. Let's equate everything to 0. Okay, when you look at this question, it's not easy for us to find the factors of 3 that when we multiply or add, they give us the middle term of what? The middle term of 8x. This tells you that this is where you need to use the quadratic formula. Please make sure that you write down your quadratic formula, which says x is equal to minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac, and everything is divided by 2a. So this is the quadratic formula. Now, by writing this, okay, so make sure that you sub in correctly. You need to understand the value of a. So the value of a, that's the coefficient of x squared, which is 2. The value of b, that's the coefficient of minus 8, of x, which is minus 8, and the value of c, that's your minus 3. You're going to substitute everything correctly. Minus into minus 8 plus or minus the root of b, which is minus 8. This will be minus 8 squared minus 4 into the value of a, that's 2. C, that's minus 3. Okay, so please make sure that you substitute everything correctly, because guess what? There's a mark for the correct substitution. So this will be 2 into 2. There is a mark for the correct substitution. So far, we have 2 marks. I'll definitely show you guys how to mark this question, how they mark the question. So I need you to open your calculator, punch this correctly on your calculator, okay? So you're going to have minus into minus 8, close the bracket, plus the root of negative 8 squared, that's minus 4. Okay, so this is what I have on my question paper, on my calculator. So when I punch equal sign, I'm gonna say SD, because they said correct to 1 decimal place. We'll go back up and confirm. So SD, this gives us 4. This will be 4.3 if we round it off to 1 decimal place or 2 decimal place. We'll definitely go back and confirm that. So this will be 4.3. That's the first answer. If we round it off to 2 decimal place, that will be 4.35. Let's change negative to positive. Negative. Positive to negative, sorry. So this gives us negative 0.35 if we round it off. So let me quickly write down my values, then we'll definitely go back up and confirm. So x will be, the first one was 4.35, or the value of x, it's minus 0.35. So I just want to go back up. They said correct to 2 decimal places. The statement here, correct to 2 decimal places. So since it's 2 decimal place, our rounding is correct. And that's it. Let's talk about the mark allocation. How are they going to mark this one? So just by multiplying out the bracket and bring the 3 to the other side to put this in the correct standard form, there's a mark for that. And then for the correct substitution, there's a mark. For the sub, there's a mark. Okay, so they'll give you for the correct answer, CA, there's a mark for that, and also for CA, there's a mark. Okay, and that's it for this one. And now let's move to number 3. Number 3 has to do with sets. Wow, this is a very nice question. Okay, so ladies and gents, please, 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 please. This is another marks that we can't afford to donate. 5 marks, easy 5 marks. Look at this. You see this part. Whatever that is inside the square root, you need to put it on one side. Meaning, we need to first take the x and bring it to that other side. So this side, the x is positive, right? We bring it to the other side, it becomes minus x. So what I'm trying to say is that on the left hand side, I'll have that x plus 2, and then let's equate this to 4. The x comes to the other side to be negative x. Okay, so now when you do this, now the aim is to get rid of the square root. How can we get rid of the square root? We can do that by squaring both sides. Let me square both sides, and then this square root, the square root, it will be cancelled by that 2 on top. Then on the left hand side, you will only be left with x plus 2. Let's equate this. So 4 minus x, I need to expand the bracket and write this as 4 minus x into 4 minus x. I need you to pause the lesson. Pause the lesson, try to multiply out the bracket and add the like terms. Put this thing in the correct quadratic standard form. So this side, I still have x plus 2. On the other side, I'll have 4 times 4. I'm going to first multiply the second bracket by 4. So this will be 4 times 4, that's 16. Then let's multiply. It's like saying 4 into 4 minus x. Then we're going to multiply with minus x into 4 minus x. So we're going to first multiply the bracket with 4. then you multiply the bracket with minus x, which is this minus x. Then this gives us 4 times 4, that's 16. 4 times minus x, that's minus 4x. Then minus x times 4, that's minus 4x. And then minus x times minus x, that's negative or positive x squared. You add the like terms, this gives us 16 minus 8x plus x squared. That's what you have when you put it in the correct standard form. So this will be minus 8x then plus x squared. So let's group the like terms because I need to equate everything to 0, right? So the x squared is positive, so I'm just going to leave it on this side. So this will be x squared minus 8x. I'm going to bring the x to the other side, it will be minus x. Then I still have plus 16. Let's bring the 2 to the other side to be minus what? To be minus 2. So everything now is equated to 0. So therefore, this will be x squared. I'm adding the like terms minus 8x minus x minus 9x. Then 16 minus 2, that's positive 14. Equated that guy to 0. So now, let's say you don't know how to factorize this question. Then let me quickly show you guys the best way that you can use to factorize this. How to find the factors. Please don't use the quadratic formula. Don't write the quadratic formula down, but you can definitely use the quadratic formula to find your factors. Look at what I'm going to do on my calculator. See, it's minus b. I'm using the quadratic formula. Where there's b, I put the value of b. Where there's a, I put the value of a. So the value of b is minus 9 in this case, and the value of a, it's 4ac, right? So the value of a, what is the value of a? The value of a is 1, so I'm just going to substitute that as 1, and the value of c, that's positive 14. So now, look at this. When I say 2 into 1, I want you guys to see what I will get when I punch this on the calculator. I get x, it's equals to 7. Okay, I'm going to write it down and say x is equal to 7, and then I'm going to change the positive sign into negative. I get x is equals to 2. So now this is what you're going to do. Look at this. You're going to work this smart. You open the two brackets, equate this to 0. We got our x to be 7 or our x to be minus 2. So now look at this. In order for you to find your factors, this is what you're going to do. If x, look at this, if x is 2, you take the 2, you bring it this side, your factor will be x minus 2. Everything is equated to 0. So this bracket will have x minus 2. And if your x is 7, we can take this and bring it on the other side. So that will be x minus 7 equals to 0. Therefore, the other bracket will have x minus 7. So that's how you can find your factors. Another way, the simplest way, if you don't want to use the quadratic formula, you can ask yourself, I'm going to look for, you can ask yourself, I need the factors of 14 that when I add or subtract them, they give us the middle term of 9. So the factors of 14 is 2 and 7. And both of them should be negative since 14 is positive. So it's up to you which way you prefer. I hope you guys are hit with this one. But guess what? We are not done solving the problem. This is not where you stop. When you work with stats, you need to reject. Sometimes you have to reject. And how do we do that? Ladies and gents, you have the values of x. You have two values of x. You need to test both of these values from the original equation, meaning where there's x. If you still remember, from the original equation, we have the root x plus 2 plus x, it's 4. So what I'm trying to say is that where there's x, we put 7. We need to find left-hand side is equal to right-hand side. So what I'm trying to say is that from the given equation, this will be the root of where there's x, I put 7, and then plus that 7. We need to get 4. So that will be 7 plus 2, that's 9. The root of 9, that's 3. So this will be 3 plus 7, which is 4. 3 plus 7, that's 10. 10 is not equal to 4. This tells you that we need to reject. So therefore, I'm going to conclude x must not be equals to 7. You have to do the same for 2. You need to test for 2. Look at this. If we substitute 2, that will be, let's see, 2 plus 2, then plus 2 is equal to 4. 2 plus 2, that's root 4, plus 2 is equal to 4. Root 4, what is root 4? That's 2. 2 plus 2, that's 4. 2 plus 2 is 4. It's 4, therefore left-hand side, it's equal to right-hand side. Then you can just leave it like that. So you don't have to write all this information on your answer sheet. You can just use your calculator to prove. Okay, so one of the most important thing when it comes to answering this question, one of the most important thing, it's for you to understand the mark allocation so that you don't leave out other steps. Okay, so on the mark allocation, you need to understand how are they going to mark your work so that when you solve this thing, you don't leave out some of the steps. So the first important thing is squaring both sides. There's a mark for that. And then for squaring, there's a mark, and for expanding and multiplying this and put it in the correct standard form. For this part here, there's a mark for that. So far, you have 2 marks. So if you put it in standard form, you see this step here, it also has a mark. So far, you have 3 marks, and the last mark will be for x is 2 and also for rejecting. You see, that is 5 marks in total. That is 5 marks in total. Let's work on the next one. Let's see what we have on the next one. So look at this question. Look at this question. Please, 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 please. When you see this type of questions, you don't have to stress. Just apply what you know. This has to do with loss of exponents. So I'm going to apply what I know. So I can see that most of these terms, I will have 2 to the power 2x, 2 to the power 2x. Even here, we can create the 2 to the power 2x. So I'm going to group this part here on one side and bring the 12 this side so that I can take out the 2 to the 2x as a common factor or something. Okay, let's try. But before we take the common factor, we need to revise the laws of exponent. There's a law that says when you are multiplying the same base, what do you do to the exponent? You add the exponents. This is the law that I want to reverse. Remember, most of the terms are given in this form. We're going to reverse it. So when I say reverse it there, I'm going to write the 2 as 2 to the 2x multiplied by 2 to the power 1. Because if I add this, it will give me that term that you see there. I hope this makes sense. Okay, 100%. So now I have minus 3. This will be times. I'm going to reverse that law again, 2 to the 2x, which is times 2 to the 1. Then now, if I have 4 to the x, 4 to the x, it can be as 2 to the power 2, everything to the x. You multiply the exponents. This is just 2 to the power 2x. So I can change the 4 and say this is plus 2 to the power 2x. Then let's bring the 12 this side. Okay, so everything will make sense why I want us to bring the 12 to the other side, because if you look at this term, this is nothing but the best. And so far, you already have one back there. Look at this. 2 to the x, 2 to the x, 2 to the x. This is your common factor. Why? Because every term, this is a term, this is a term. Okay, I think let's do it like this. This whole thing here, it's a term, and this is a term. So all these terms, they have 2 to the x. We can definitely take that guy out as a common factor. So another thing I need you guys to understand is that when you take out something as a common factor, you're going to replace that, whatever term you have out as a common factor, you replace it with what? With 1. So this will be 1, this will be 1, this will be 1. So let's take it out. So this is 2 to the x, 2 to the power 2x out as a common factor. We are left with 1 multiplied by 2 minus 3 times Where there's 2 to the power 2x, you replace by 1 times 2, then plus 2 to the x, out it's a common factor, replace by 1. Then this will be minus 12. So now you're going to, you see that inside the bracket, these are like 10. So this will be 2 minus 3 times 2 plus 1, or maybe we can just rewrite this and say this is 2 to the x into, we can just use the calculator, because what we need to pay attention on is that this will be 3 times 2, that's 6. Okay, so it's like we're having 2 minus 6, then plus 1. So 2 plus 1, that's 3, minus 6, that's minus 3. So inside the bracket, we are left with negative 3. So this will be 2 to the x minus 3. It's equals to minus 12. So now we are trying to put that 10, 2 to the x on one side. So I can just divide both sides by minus 3, divide the other side by minus 3. Therefore, the minus 3 cancel, I'm left with 2 to the power 2x, it's equals to, so 3 goes into 12 4 times, because the negative will cancel. Can I change 4 to base 2? Yes, we can definitely do that. This will be 2 to the x, it's equal to 2 to the power 2. The base are the same. This tells you that the exponents are also equal. Then when you divide both sides by 2, what is your x? X is just 1. Then you're done. That's how you solve that question. That was an easy one. But remember again, very important for you to understand the mark allocation. How are they going to mark this question? So for most of the time, if you have this type of question where you need to split your terms, there's definitely a mark for that, for splitting. So this mark is for splitting. Okay, so this is for splitting. And then for taking out the common factor, for factoring, there's a mark for that. For factoring, there's a mark. And then so far, how many marks you have? By moving the 12 to the other side to be negative, there's also a mark for that. And then for this step here where you change, there's also a mark. So far you have 4 marks. The final mark will just be for your correct answer. Wow, that was massive. That was massive. Easy marks. Okay, so now please, when you solve, make sure that you pay attention to signs. Yeah, because for example, let's say that you forget that you're dividing by negative 3. And then what do? You decide to only divide by 3. You can see that your answer will be minus 4, then you are stuck. You don't know how you're going to work from there, because this is invalid. You have a number to the power exponent and it's equated to a negative number. You see, then this is where you're going to stop. You're going to say no solution, which is not true. Make sure you pay attention to signs. Take out your common factor correctly. Okay. Also, when you do the splitting, make sure that you do it correctly. Next question. B. You are given the equation 3x squared plus 2x plus k is equal to 0. For what values of k will the roots be equal? Ladies and gents, I don't want to talk much on nature of the roots, but if you want to understand the nature of the roots, I'll definitely, or you can just go through the channel. There's a lesson where we talk about the nature of the roots. So in when time goes on, I'll also drop the link on this video. I'll just try to look at the video and drop the link on the description where we talk about the nature of the root. But for now, just to save time, note that when they say the roots are equal, this tells you that the discriminant must be 0. What is the discriminant? It's b squared minus 4ac. It must be equal to 0. Okay, so when we are going to say the b squared minus 4ac, we equate that guy to 0. What is the value of a? What is b? So this is a, this is b, and this is c. Right. So please make sure that the c, you take it with the sign, right? Also the b with the sign. So what is b? That will be positive 2 squared minus 4 into the value of a, that's 3. The value of a, that is 3. So this will be 4 into A, which is 3. And then the value of C, that's positive K. Equate everything to 0 and solve for K. So this will be 4. We minus 4 times 3, that's 12. So this will be minus 12K. It's equal to 0. Let's bring the 12 to the other side to be positive. 12K, divide both sides by 12, divide by 12, which gives us K to be 4 goes into 4 one time and 4 goes into 12 3 times. So the answer is 1 over 3. That's your K. Okay, so for this one, how are they going to give you the mark allocation? We know that there's a mark for the final answer. And then for understanding that equal means that the discriminant is 0, you're going to get a mark for equating this to 0. Then on the very same, you'll get another mark for the correct substitution. Okay, because sometimes you'll find that case negative. They need to see that negative on your substitution. I hope this makes sense. I hope this makes sense. Okay, so and that's it for this question. That's your value of K. Okay, so the next question they want you to solve, I'm not sure if I'm moving fast or what, but since you'll be watching the lesson, you can pause, work out some of the questions, but let's keep on moving. Okay, solve for x if 9x squared minus 6x plus 1 is less than 0. Show all your necessary workings. So this has to do with inequalities. So this is inequalities. And now I'll be asking myself, can I factorize this? Yes, you can definitely factorize this question. Okay, so when you factorize this, let me just quickly, guys, show you let's do it the quadratic way. This is less than or equal to 0. We can definitely do it using the quadratic formula. So what is your b? That's minus 6. So minus 6. And what is your value of b? That's minus 6. So this will be minus 6. This is what I do when I don't want to waste time trying to factorize a certain question. And what is a? A is 9. So the value of a, that's 9. And what is c? The value of c, that's positive 1. Okay, everything is divided by 2 into 9. Let's say this is 2 into 9. So when I punch, I get 1 over 3. And then I'm going to change the sign there from positive to negative. I still get the same answer. So this tells me that the factors are the same for both brackets. Okay, so this is wonderful because now I understand what I'm going to do. Remember, we just calculated that and we got our x to be 3, 1 over 3. So now, how do we move from this fraction to create our factor? You take the 3, you multiply with x, which gives you 3x, it's equal to 1. You bring the 1 to the other side, 3x is minus 1, it's equal to 0, meaning that both of these brackets will have 3x minus 1, 3x minus 1. Simple. Okay, so now we can see that our CV this is just one critical value. It's x is equal to 1 over 3. So, ladies and gents, you don't have to do an inequality part where you say x must be less than blah, blah, x must be greater, blah, blah, blah. Because if you look at this question, when you draw the number line, this is your 1 over 3, right? So, if we choose any number between 1 over 3, let's say 0 going this side. If you substitute 0, we can see that it's going to be minus 1 times minus 1, which is positive this side, meaning even the other side will be positive. So there's no part where we're going to get this to be negative. So you can just leave your answer and say x it's equals to 1 over 3. You don't have to use inequality sign when you only have one solution, when you only have one critical value. So this is why the question is just 3 marks, because they'll give you mark for that 1 over 3, and you'll get a mark for factoring, for getting your factors, and you'll definitely get your mark for CV. That's how you need to solve the problem. Okay, I think the more we keep going down, the more questions start to get more interesting. Yeah? Because this is very interesting question. Imagine you are in an exam, right? And then you see something like this, you'll feel like, wow, what I'm doing is wrong. Is it possible that I have one critical value? Just there's nothing we can do, it's just one. Trust yourself, né? And move on to the next question. Don't get stressed. Solving the following equations simultaneously for x and y. So exam tip that I can give you with this one. The first step is to create one subject, one variable subject of the formula between x and y. But we need to create it from, because we are given two equations. You see the end, it tells you that you are working with two equations. So we need to solve the easiest equation. Most of the time, the linear one, which is this one. So this will be my equation 1, and this will be my equation 2. So from equation 1, I'm going to make y or x subject of the formula. It's up to you which one you want to make subject of the formula, because both of them, they have the coefficient of 1. This is 1, this is 1. So in most cases, I like to choose the one that has the coefficient of 1. But in this case, both of them, they have the coefficient of 1. So let's make y subject of the formula. So y is equal to, we bring the x to the other side to be negative. Let's call this equation 3. So we're going to substitute equation 3. Let's substitute that equation 3. Okay, we're going to substitute equation 3 into equation 2, meaning that on equation 2, where you see y, we're going to put the 2 minus x. So if you look at equation 3, it's y plus 1, it's equals to minus 3 over x minus 1. So where you see the y, where you see this y here, the y value, where you see this y, we need to sub in the 2 minus x. Where that's y, we need to put the 2 minus x. Okay, so when they say that teaching needs patience, I also think that even when you are studying, you need to be patient, because now if you make a mistake and then when you check your answer is not the same as the memo, you don't have to give up, but you just have to breathe in and out, then try to redo the question. Look at the mistake that you make, try to correct the mistake. And in most cases, when you make a mistake, you should celebrate, because that's how you can see that you are learning. By correcting that mistake, it means that you won't be able to do the same mistake in an exam. Okay, so this will be 2 minus x, where there's y, then we add 1. This is equal to minus 3 over x minus 1. So before I remove the fraction, can I please add the like terms, because these two guys are like terms. That will be 2 plus 1, which is 3. So I'll have this as 3 minus x, then this is equal to minus 3 over x minus 1. So we need to get rid of the fraction. We're going to multiply both sides by x minus 1. So this will be x minus 1 into 3 minus x, it's equal to minus 3. Because if I multiply both sides, if I take this guy here, multiply it by x minus 1, and then I take this multiply by x minus 1. What you do on the left hand side, you do on the right hand side. This will cancel. So I think you understand why on the other side I only have minus 3. So what's next? Multiply out the bracket, add the like terms. So this is x times 3, that's 3x. X times minus x, that's minus x squared. Minus 1 times 3, that's minus 3. Minus 1 times minus x, that's plus x. This is minus 3. Let's add the like terms. Let's see what we have here now. So I can see that the 3x and the x giving us 4x. So this is 4x minus x squared. So when I bring the 3 this side, it will cancel with that 3 because this one is negative. This one is negative on the right hand side. When it comes on the left hand side, it becomes positive, which will be 0. So I'm just going to equate this to 0. Okay, so if you look at this equation, we have the x squared as negative. We don't need to work with that, right? So this tells you that we need to divide everything by negative, or we can take negative out as a common factor. So I really recommend that we divide everything by negative. Change the sign of every term. So therefore, you can just take out the common factor. This is what you have. Equate this to 0. Then what's your x? The zero product property. When we started this lesson, we talked about the zero product property. So this tells you that x is 0, or your x minus 4 is 0, which gives us x to be 4. You see, now another mistake most learners, when they find the first variable, they celebrate and move to the next question. This is what you, please don't do that. Avoid doing that mistake. When you get the question right, you celebrate. Remember, this is simultaneous equation. We need x and y. So to find the y values, we're going to use an equation. We said that y is equals to 2 minus x. So we know that it's x, 0, or 4. So we need to find the corresponding. If the value of x is 0, therefore what is your y? So y will be 2 minus 0. The y value is 2. So this is the first corresponding y value. You do the same if x is 4. So meaning your y will be 2 minus 4, which is negative 2. So the other y value, will be y is equals to negative 2. And that's it, ladies and gents. This is how you collect the marks. So let's talk about the mark allocation. I think this one is also important when it comes to question 1. I think this is very, very important now when it comes to this mark allocation for simultaneous. Look at this. Easy 1 mark. Just to make subject of the formula, you have 1 mark, and then also you'll be given a mark for the correct substitution. You see where there's y? By substituting that, there's a mark again. That is 2 marks. Okay, so the question is, out of 6, how are you going to get the 4 marks? In most cases, they mark this step, or let me say this step. The quadratic standard form, there's a mark for that, right? There's a mark for that in most cases, but in this one, then they'll give you maybe 1 mark for the factors. Then both of these x values, they like to give you 1 mark for both of them. If one is wrong, then you lose that mark. For both y values, you'll get 1 mark, which gives you 6 marks in total. That's how you collect the 6 marks. Well, if you understand how we work algebra on question 1, now is the right time to subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you join the family. You are in grade 11. This gives you the opportunity to work with me next year when you're doing grade 12. Let me teach you how to get a distinction when you are in grade 12. Even now, guys, I'm teaching you how to separate yourself from those average learners, or to be one of those top students. Subscribe to the channel, and I'm looking forward, guys, to welcome you to the family. Okay, let's look at this question 2. Oh, wow. Okay, so this question 2, we're going to simplify the following expression without the use of a calculator. Okay, so I'm going to give you a nice tip. Now, when you are given this type of question, just know that these 2 numbers inside, they will have, it's always this case, né? They will have an exponent that will cancel the 3 on bottom. It's always the case. So you'll go to your calculator, you start with the number on top, which is 27. You're going to say 27 equal sign, shift, then you say fact. So the 27, you can write it as 3 to the power 3. Then you do the same, 64, it will also be to the power 3. 64 equals to shift, then you say fact, that's uh, 2 to the power 6. Né? So if it's 2 to the power 6, I don't want 2 to the power 6. I need, what is this, to the power 3. So to make it to the power 3, I know that if it's 2 to the power, look at this. Guys, you just have to be like, you got 2 to the power 6, which can be written as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this, that's 4, 4, 4. How many fours? 3 of them. So we can write this as 4 to the power 3, because 4 to the power 3 will also give you 64. You see, 4 to the power 3, that's equal to 64, because I need these numbers to have the same exponent. So this will be 27, we said, is 3 to the power 3, and then this will be 4 to the power 3. So everything is to the power 2 over 3. Let's take out that exponent and say this is 3 over 4. Everything to the power 3, because if I have a to the n over b to the n, since the exponent that is same, this will be a over b, everything to the power n. That is what I'm applying here. This is to the power 2 over 3. So now you can multiply the exponent. When you multiply the exponent, the 3 will cancel this 3, and that 3 cancels. You're left with 3 over 4, everything squared. So it's like 3 squared, that's 9. 4 squared, that's 16. Because it's 4 times 4, that's 16. And your correct answer, it's 9 over 16. Okay, so you'll definitely get a mark for changing this and writing it like this. There's a mark for that, and then a mark for the final answer. Okay, the next question for 4 marks, this has to do with the laws of exponents. Né? This has to do with the laws of exponents. Okay, so on this one, first thing first, we need to make the base to be the same. We know that 6 can be broken into 3 times 2. So I'm going to first change that 6 and say this is 3 multiplied by 2, everything to the n plus 2 times, this is 2 to the power n minus 1. So this will be 2 to the power n minus 1, and everything here is divided by 12 is going to be, I think 12 is 3 times, what is 12? Is it 3 times 4? And we know that 4, it will be 2 to the power 2. Né? I hope you guys are with me. 12 is 3 times 4. But the 4 will be 2 to the power 2. So it will be 3 times 2 to the power 2. Everything to the power n plus 2. Then now let's multiply out the exponents. Né? So remember, this is to the power 1 to the power 1. So when you multiply the exponent, don't make mistake. The exponent for 3, you multiply it by that n plus 2, which will be n plus 2. You do the same, the 2 will also have the n plus 2 as an exponent. Then this is multiplied by 2 to the n minus 1, everything. Now, the first, this is 3 to the power 1, right? You multiply by that exponent of n plus 2, that will be 3 to the power n plus 2. And then if we keep going, this will be times 2 to the power n times 2, that's 2n. 2 plus 2, that's 4. So this will be plus 4. Right. Please, 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 guys, do not do this. Do not. I know that we're going to say this and this cancels. Yes, they cancel since it's a multiplication, but please don't do that, because remember, they are not just testing if you can solve the problem. They are also testing if you know how to apply the laws of exponent. They want you to apply the laws that say if you are dividing the same base, what do you do to the exponent? You subtract them. You take the one on top, you subtract the one on bottom. Right, so this tells you that this will be 3 to the power n plus 2, which is the one on top. You subtract the one on bottom, which is n plus 2 also. Please make sure that you put it inside the bracket, multiplied by. So now, if you look at this, You see these two guys, these two. We are multiplying the same base. What do you do to the exponent? We're going to add them, and then we're going to subtract the one on bottom. I hope you guys are not lost on that one. So we're going to write this as the one on top, which is n plus 2. We are multiplying the same base. We add the exponent. Then that's when you can subtract the one on bottom, which is 2n plus 4. What's next? Multiplying out of the bracket with the negative. So this will be 3 to the n plus 2 minus n minus 2 times 2 to the n plus 2. I just do one thing at a time. If I multiply out the bracket, I multiply out the bracket. You don't multiply out the bracket and add the like terms at the same time because you might make a mistake. So now let's multiply out the bracket by that negative. So this will be minus 2n minus 4. So now look at this. N and n cancel. 2 and 2 cancel. We are left with 3 to the 0. Okay. So now this is multiplied by, let's look at what we get here. If you add the 2, that's 2n, right? But this will be subtracted by that which gives us 0. And then minus 1 and minus 1. Let's look at this. So this was 2. We need to add this 2, guys. The 2 minus 1, which is positive 1. Then, okay, so let me just write this down. We said n and n, they'll be subtracted by that which gives us 2 to the 0 times. No, let's not say times. It's 2 to the 0. Then we're going to say 2 minus 1 minus 4, which gives us minus 3. So this will be minus 3. So what I'm trying to say, this is 3 to the 0 times 2 to the power minus 3. So any number to the power 0 is 1. 2 to the minus 3, which can be written as a positive exponent. 1 over 2 to the 3, which is just 1 over 8. And that's it. That's your answer. Okay. Let me look at this next question. This is number 3. Then we still have the hands question. Okay, we'll just keep on moving. Okay, so now on this one, they say show that. Okay, so on the next question, this one, it has to do with proof. But since it is a proof, still we can see that this that's a loss of exponents. So now look at this. I have 3 to the x, 3 to the x, 3 to the x. So this tells you that you need to separate, you need to split and take out 3 to the x out as a common factor. So now, if I have 3 to the x, if I have 3 to the x plus 1, this can be written as 3 to the x times 3 to the 1. So this is what I need to apply on this question. So I'm going to first say this is 3 to the x multiplied by 3 to the power 1. Then we subtract 3 to the x. Okay, let's go to our denominator and do the same. 3 to the x multiplied by 3 to the minus 1. And then the plus 3 there. Let's see what is this going to give us, because we need to only focus on one side. So I chose to work on left-hand side. So I need to prove that left-hand side is 3. So on top, I can see that I have a common factor of 3 to the x. I'm going to take out that guy, the 3 to the x. Remember, when you take out a common factor, where there's that factor, you need to replace that with 1. So this will be 1 times 3 minus 1. Close the bracket on bottom. We just leave it as 3 to the x times 3 to the minus 1. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is that the x cancels. On top, I'm left with 1 times 3, that's 3 minus 1, that's 2. So I'm left with the root of 2 over 3 to the minus 1. Ladies and gents, if I have 2 over 3 to the minus 1, remember, I can write this as 2 over 1 over 3. So it's like saying 2 is divided by 1 over 3. So if we change the 2 to multiplication, we multiply by the reciprocal. So it's like saying 2 times 3, that's 6. Okay, 2 times 3, that's 6. We forgot to add that 3 here. We still have plus 3, because now this will be 2 times 3. We know that this is 2 times 3, which is 6. So this will be the root of 6 plus 3, which is equal to the root of 9, which is 3. So look at this. Left-hand side, it's equal to right-hand side. Then you can write it here and say, therefore, my left-hand side is equal to right-hand side. What about the mark allocation? This is 3-mark question. So you'll definitely get a mark for factorizing, guys. Taking out the common factor is very important. There's a mark for factoring. So this mark is for factoring. And then there's a mark for splitting. A mark for splitting. And then you'll definitely get a mark for the root 9. Because already we know answer must be 3, right? And that's it for this one. I hope you guys are following. So on the next question, hence solve. Hence means that already use what you know from the previous question. So we know that all this question, all that guy, it's 3. So meaning that we can just say 3, it's equals to 1 over 3 to the power 1. X minus 2. Hence means that use the same thing that you did. So now we need the base to be the same, right? So I can write this as 3 is equals to 3 to the minus 1. If you still remember, we had 3 to the minus 1 here, and we wrote this as 1 over 3. So now I'm reversing back that law. Okay, so this is from the laws of exponent that say if we have x to the power negative exponent, this can be written as positive exponent. So we have it like this, we take it back so that the base will be the same. So everything here is to the power x minus 2. So now, before you equate the base, make sure that you multiply out the exponents. This is 3 is equal to 3 to the power minus x minus 1 times x. That's minus x minus 1 times minus 2. That's positive 2. You just have to multiply the exponent by minus 1. So this will be positive 2. The base are the same. Remember, this is to the power 1. The base are equal. The exponents are also equal. Solve for x. The 2 comes to the other side to be negative. So this will be 1 minus 2. It's minus x. Therefore, x is equals to okay, let's say if I have this will be minus 1, it's equal to minus x. Divide both sides by negative, which gives us x to be positive 1. That's the final answer. X is positive 1. What about the mark allocation? Very important to understand. How are they going to mark your work? For understanding that, hence means equate this to 3. There's a mark for that. Easy mark. Even if you write it like this, you leave it like this because you don't know how to solve exponent. At least out of 3, you have 1 mark. That's why they say it's important that don't leave some questions answered. Make sure that you write at least something on the paper. And then now by multiplying out the bracket like this, there's a mark for that and there's a mark for the final answer. Okay, let's move to the next question. ACDF, it's a rectangle, and we are told that the rectangle has an area of, so if you still remember, the area of rectangle is equal to length times breadth. That's the area. And the area is given as what? The area is given as the area of its x squared plus 2x minus 8. It's equal to the length. So this will be this guy. Okay, the length times breadth. We multiply the 2 there. So if we multiply the 2, this will be AF. This is multiplied by FD. But we are coming to that. I'm just trying to analyze What is this question saying? So the area is length times breadth for a rectangle, and the area is given as this, and this is AF, and we know that AF, so this will be x squared minus. You see, I haven't know what is the question saying. I'm just trying to understand what is going on here. AF, that's x minus 2. Let me just leave it like this now, because we know that AF is x minus 2, and FD, I don't know what is FD, but let's try and see what is the question saying. So B is a point on AC, we can see that, and E is a point on, I'm sorry, on FD, such that ABEF, such that ABEF is a what? It's a square. So ABFE. So this one, they say it's a square. What do you know about the sides of a square? All sides are equal. So all sides are equal, meaning this will also be x minus 2. This will also be x minus 2. Right. So the question says that a square with side x minus 2 centimeter each. Calculate the length of ED. So I think I was on the right part, but now for the fact that we started here, now you know what you need to do. I think we just have to bring this thing down. We said that the area it's equals to AF, which is length times breadth. So this will be AF multiplied by FD. So the question is looking for ED. So if the question is looking for ED, you need to ask yourself, how can I bring ED to this equation? So look at this. If we know that FD is equal to the sum of FE plus ED. So now we have ED, we can just substitute FD as that guy. We can substitute and say the area it's equals to AF multiplied by your FD, that's FE, we add ED. So you just have to make ED subject of the formula here. So let's quickly just try and substitute the area. What is the area? The area was given as x squared plus 2x minus 8. So that's the area. It's x squared plus 2x, x squared plus 2x minus 8. So this is minus 8. Let's equate this to AF. Do we know what is AF? Yes. AF, it's x minus 2. So this will be x minus 2, big brackets, FE. Do we know what is FE? Yes, another x minus 2. So I think this will be easy now. X minus 2. And then I'm going to leave, I think it's best if I put the bracket here, just to show that this is, we are adding ED then. What is next? Making ED subject of the formula, ladies and gents. So you know what I'm going to do? I just don't want to complicate my life. To make it the subject of the formula, I think we can factorize this first and see what we get. So let's factorize that guy. X on both sides. The factors of 8, it's 4 and 2, that when you add or subtract, they give us the middle term of 2. So it's going to be 2 and what? And 4. So since 8 is negative, one bracket should be positive, one should be negative. So you're going to take the sign of the middle number, you give it the bigger number, and then this will be negative. Then we have x minus 2 into x minus 2. Ladies and gents, you know what? The aim here is to make it the subject of the formula. I think I can just divide both sides by that x minus 2 first. Let me see. Divide this by x minus 2, and then divide this whole thing by x minus 2. Because I'm trying to work out something here. These two cancels, these two cancels. Then let me rewrite the equation and see what I have so far. This is nice because when I look at this equation, by getting rid of that x minus 2 in front of this bracket, it makes everything to be easy, because now we don't have to multiply out the bracket. Look at what we have. We can just group the like terms. I think we can definitely do that. Let's bring the x this side. It's negative. So x minus x, that's 0. Let's bring the 4 this side to be positive. That's 6. I mean the 2. So that's 4 plus 2, that's 6. And then this is equal to ED. Okay, so if I go back up, it should be in centimeters. So the length of ED, that's 6 centimeter. So that's what is ED equals to. I think this was an easy question, but if you look at this now, you see this type of questions, I know that they change every year. Now. When you get to this type of question, look at this now. I just want to explain something. Time management. This is 5 marks. You need to spend like 1 minute for 1 mark. So you should spend 5 minutes. The moment you see that it's been more than 2 minutes being on this question, and already you don't have the first step or the second step, leave the question, move to the next question. You'll come back later on, because the aim is to collect as many marks as possible. The aim is to collect those easy marks, because those easy marks, they make a difference. You understand? Let's move to the next question. So on the next question, we are given a linear pattern. Oh, since they say it's a linear, this tells you that this will have a constant difference. So minus 3 minus 4, that's minus 7. Then minus 10 minus into minus 3, that's also minus 7. That's my constant difference, it's minus 7. Write down the constant first difference. So D, we just found that is T2 minus T1, which is minus 3. We minus 4. Therefore, our D is minus 7. That's our 1 mark. We definitely need that mark, okay? So now, write down the value of T4. So in order for you to find T4, we need to add from this minus 10, we need to add a constant difference. So you can see that this sequence is a decreasing sequence, right? It's descending. Okay, so now, since it's descending, we're going to take this term here, the minus 10. We're going to add minus 7, the constant difference, which gives us T4 to be what? Minus 17. So I'm going to write this down and say T4 is minus 17. Okay, so another way that you can do this, you can say that I know that if I take T4, I minus T3, I need to get minus 7. So my T4 is what I'm looking for. Minus T3, which is negative 10. And then this is minus 7. Then solve for T4. T4 plus 10, that's minus 7. Therefore, T4, the 10 goes to the other side to be negative, which gives us negative 17. But the easiest way, this is just 1 mark there. You don't have to stress. Take it easy. Okay, nice. Well done. Let's move to the next question and see what we have on the next one. Okay, so the next question, determine the general term of the linear pattern and hence calculate the number of terms in this pattern. Guys, one step at a time. The first question, determine the general term. Let's focus on that guy first. So the general term for linear sequence is Tn is equal to A plus into n minus 1 times D. You just have to substitute the value of A, which is the first term of the sequence. That's 4. So this 4, that's the value of A. Where there's A, we're going to put 4 plus n minus 1 times the constant difference of negative 7. Then you multiply out the bracket by that minus 7. So this will be plus, in fact, let's say it's n times negative 7. So which gives us minus 7n. Then minus 1 times minus 7. That's positive 7. When you add 4 and the 7, these are the like terms, right? So this gives us Tn to be the general term, it's minus 7n plus 11. So you are done with the first term of the problem, right? The first term of the, the first part of the problem. Now we need to calculate the number of terms. How do we calculate the number of terms? You're going to take Tn. Where there's Tn, you're going to substitute the last term. When you see a sequence like this and then they put dots, and then they put another number, that number, it shows that the sequence, it ends at -227. So we need to find how many terms by taking that guy and substitute it where there's Tn on the sequence, on the general term. So we are saying that our Tn is -7n plus 11. So where there's Tn, I need you to put -227 and solve for n. -227, it's equals to -7 plus 11. So let's bring the 11 this side to be negative -7n. Okay, so I think if I say 27 plus 11, let's put the one here is 28 plus 10, that's 38. So this would be -238. It's equal to -7. And I guess, not guessing, but I think we're gonna need a calculator for this one. Therefore, what is n? I think we need a calculator for that guy. We need to take the negative cancel, so I'll just say 238 divided by 7, and the number of terms is 34. So there are 34 terms. So n is equal to 34. So this is how many marks? 3 marks, né? So if this is 3 marks, how are they going to mark the question? Obviously, for the general term, you'll have a mark, right? But in most cases, they might not even give you a mark for the general term, because I think they are just trying to rob you marks. They just wanted to take these 3 marks away from you. Why did they not ask this question separately so that you can get 2 marks for the general term and 2 marks for finding the number of terms? But they are robbing you the mark, so they'll give you 1 mark for n, and they'll definitely give you for this substitution here another mark for that, and then maybe 1 mark for the general term. That's how they'll mark this one. Oh, okay. Next question. Given this linear pattern is the first difference of quadratic. Okay, let me just bring down the pattern so that I can understand what they are saying. This is 4 minus 3 minus 10. So if this is 4 minus 3 minus 10, blah, blah, blah. So they are saying that if it is given that this pattern, this linear pattern is the first difference. So if it's the first difference, of a quadratic pattern, determine whether the quadratic pattern will have a maximum or a minimum value. Let me first explain what they are saying. They are asking you to do that. So in order, when it comes to quadratic, how do we know for minimum and maximum? We look at the value of a. Remember, in quadratic functions, if a is greater than 0, your graph will have a happy face, meaning concave down. Then it has what? It has what we call a minimum. It's going to have a mini. Okay. It's going to have a mean value. And we come back and say if the value of a is less than 0, gonna have concave down, a set face, then it's gonna have a max value. Ladies and gents, so now you understand what is the question saying. Find the value of a, and then you conclude on what? If this is minimum or maximum. It depends if a is less than 0 or if a is greater than 0. This is easy. How do we find a? 2a is equals to second constant difference, because if this is the first difference, this will be the second constant difference. So 2a will be equal to that -7. Then you solve for a will be -7/2. So the value of a is what? The value of a is negative. And then if the value of a is negative, therefore we're going to have a maximum value. Oh, this is very nice question. Wow, such easy 3 marks. Okay, so they'll give you a mark for understanding that this -7 will be the second constant difference if it is given that this linear pattern is the first difference of quadratic. Then a number for finding A, and then for the conclusion if this is max or min. Wow. Okay, I guess there's another question on sequence on queries. A ball is launched upward from the ground, and the height of the ball after 8 seconds is shown. So after 1 second, the height is 5. After 2 seconds, the height is 21. After 3, the height is 35, and so on. Given that the pattern continues consistently, what is the height of the ball M after 5 seconds? Guys, let's find the difference. 21 minus 5, that's 16, okay? Okay, and then 21 minus 35, that's 40. Okay, and then 47, you minus 35, that's positive 12. So this tells you that the difference, the difference is decreasing by 2. So which makes this one to be 10. So if this one is 10, to find M, we just have to take 47, we add 10, because when we find the difference, we are subtracting the next number, we subtract the previous number. So this tells you that if we say M, we subtract 47, it should give us 10. But now, if you bring the 47 this side, you are adding. So M will be that 10 plus 47. So this tells you that M will be what? T5 is 57. Oh, what a nice question. That is just one magnet. I'm not going to stress you guys about that one. What is the height of the ball after n seconds? Guys, find, even they give you a clue. Find the general term. They want you to find the general term. So if I continue, this is the first difference. And then I need to find the second difference, which is 2. The difference is the same, right? It's 2. So we need to find the general term. So this is a quadratic equation. So if it's a quadratic equation, first thing first, we need to find A. So 2A is equal to the second difference, equate this to 2. Therefore, A is just 1. If we divide both sides by 2, then we're going to say 3A plus B, it's equal to the first term of the first difference, which is 16. So I'm going to equate that guy to 16. So this will be equal to 16. 3 into A, where there's A, I substitute 1. And then let's equate this to 16. That will be 3 plus B. It's equal to 16. So where this, okay, let's solve for B. This will give us, the 3 goes to the other side to be negative. What is the value of B? So this will be 16. I think we are missing something here, ladies and gents. Let's go back up. Look at this guy, because this is not making any sense. Because this thing, the reason I'm saying that it's not making any sense is that, look at this. If I have 16, 14, 12, 10, the first difference is decreasing. So if the first difference is decreasing, this will make my second difference to be negative. That's 14 minus 16, negative, 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 right? So meaning that this will be equal to minus, and it makes the value of A to be negative. This will be negative, which makes this to be minus 3. The 16 comes to the other side to be positive. The 3 comes to the other side to be positive, which gives us 19. So it will be 16 plus 3. I hope that clears the confusion. Oh, this is very good. Then I have A plus B plus C. This is equal to the first term of the sequence. That is 5. So this will be equated to 5A. That was minus 1. We add B, which is 19. We say C is 5. That's 18 left. So this is 18 plus C is 5. So C will be 5 minus 18, which gives you negative 13. Yeah, that will be negative 30. So now the general term becomes, let's just substitute in on this values. Where there's A, we put minus 1. So Tn will be minus n squared B it's 19, C it's minus 13. So this is your general term. I think this one, I think I keep on saying everything is easy. Okay, so now when we look at this, you'll get 1 mark for that substitution. Also for this substitution, there's a 1 mark again. And also for finding B, there's another mark. And then now they won't give you a mark for this substitution because already we marked A and B. They'll just give you a mark for finding C. And then the last number, you'll get it for the final answer for the TN. Why not? Because the question said find the general term. They should give you that mark. Let's hope this is the last question for number patterns. Oh, yeah, it is the last question, but I'm just surprised we didn't check the mark allocation for this one. So that's 14 marks. Okay, it's fine. Let's move to the next question, which is question 4. Finally, we are doing functions. Let's look at this question 4. So we said the diagram below shows the graph of this is a hyperbola. We can see that. So first question, write down the coordinates of S. Okay, so without any wasting of time, just note that this one, if you see this line here, this is a vertical asymptote, and this one will be a horizontal asymptote. So to find your vertical asymptote, you take the denominator, that x plus 3, you equate it to 0. So the x plus 3, you equate it to 0, therefore x will be minus 3. So the x coordinate here is minus 3. Then to find the vertical asymptote, you just say y is that one. So y is just minus 1. So the coordinate of S is just your minus 3 and minus 1. So those are the coordinates of X, and this should be 1 mark. But today it's your lucky day. The question is for 2 marks. So X will be minus 3 and what? And minus 1. Okay, let's keep on moving to the next question. Determine the coordinates of T, the x-intercept of G. So T is the x-intercept, this point here. So you just have to rewrite that equation of G down. G at x, that's equals to 4 over x plus 3, and this is minus 1. So in order for you to find the x, we find the x if y is 0. So where there's y, we just have to substitute 0. So this will be 0 is equal to 4 over x plus 3 minus 1. So you just have to take it from here and solve for x. Let's bring the 1 this side to be positive, because we first have to isolate that fraction so that we can multiply both sides by the x plus 3. So we cross multiply, this will be 1 multiplied by x plus 3, which is just x plus 3, equate this to the 4. So I think now you know what happens next. The 3 comes to the other side. X will just be 4 minus 3, that's 1. So x is 1, and then the coordinates of T will be your x is 1 and the y coordinates is 0. So just 1 and 0. So I just want to make sure that I go back here and redo this. Here we just multiply both sides by x plus 3. We multiply this by x plus 3. Just in case next time it's not 1 there, you just have to know that you multiply out the bracket by this number. So we multiply everything inside the bracket by 1, which is just x plus 3. Therefore, this side, the x plus 3 and the x plus 3 will cancel. I just hope you guys understand how we got to that part. The mark allocation, just for substituting this to 0, there's a mark for that. For writing the values of T, there's a mark, and for finding your x, that's where the 3 marks will come from. Write down the coordinates of the axis of symmetry that has a positive gradient. Ladies and gents, please note that the axis of symmetry, it's in the form of x is equals to y is equals to x plus t plus c. If it has a positive gradient, so for positive gradient, it's this. But for negative, if next time they ask you for negative gradient, just know that y will be minus x plus c. That's the difference. So now, what you're going to do now, you're going to take the point of intersection of your axis of symmetry. No, of your asymptote. This s, which is minus 3 and minus 1. So basically, this is your x, this is your y. We're going to use that point and substitute it here to find c. So what I'm trying to say, y is x plus c, because we are looking for this one that has the positive gradient. Where there's y, we are substituting s, which is minus 3 and minus 1. So this is your x, this is your y. Where there's y, you put minus 1. Where there's x, you put minus 3 plus c. So the minus 3 comes this side to be positive. And what is c? So c is just 2. So therefore, the equation of axis of symmetry, it will be x. We substitute back that c on that equation, which is x plus 2. So this is the final answer. And this is just 2 marks. So just get 2 marks for this question. Please don't forget, if they are looking for a negative axis of symmetry, then you can just use this one. So your x should be negative because remember it's y is equals to mx plus c plus, but it has the gradient of 1. So the gradient is just 1. The axis of symmetry has the gradient of 1. Okay, next question. Determine the coordinates of point Q, which lies on the axis of symmetry found in C. So point Q, if this has the positive, if we are looking at this positive, the axis of symmetry, so this tells you that it will have a positive one. It will look like this. It will have, what is this? It will have, it will move up like this. I just want to show you guys. It will move up at Q, then it move between right in there, and then it go up straight, and then this is your graph. It will have a positive gradient, né? So it will be an increasing function. So now when I look at this, I am just trying to help you guys out to analyze the question. Look at 2. You know that does the y-intercept. So it will cut where? At 2. But that's not important for now. The only thing you should focus on is that point. Look at that point. Wow, this is very interesting. Né? This point Q is the point of intersection of what? Of your G and that axis of symmetry. Is the point of intersection. How do we find the point of intersection? We equate the two graphs. So this tells you that you're going to take your G at X, you equate it with your axis of symmetry. So your G at X, maybe let's say G at X, that was 4 over X plus 3 minus 1. And then the axis of symmetry, that was Y, is equals to X plus 2. So this is your equation 1, this is your equation 2. Bless me. Okay, so now what we're going to do is that we're going to equate the two graphs. Equation 1 is equal to equation 2. Then we first solve the x coordinate, because Q, we need, if we can find the x coordinate, we'll definitely find the corresponding y value. So we're going to take the 4 over x plus 3, and then minus 1, this will be equals to x plus 2. Then we solve for x. So I think it's safe if we bring the minus 1 this side to be positive, so that I can have 4 over x plus 3 is equals to x plus 3. So now can we just multiply out both sides by x plus 3? So just to save time, maybe I can show that if I take this term here, multiplied by x plus 3, even this term should be multiplied by x plus 3. So this x plus 3 will cancel that one, and this leaves us with 4 on the left hand side. So this will be 4. It's equal to multiply out the bracket. This is x squared plus 3x plus 3x, that's plus 6x plus 9. Okay, so I'll bring the 4 to the other side. This is x squared plus 6x. The 4 comes this side to be negative, which leaves us with plus 5. Okay, so this is 0. Can we factorize this? We can definitely do that. So this will be x on both sides. The factors of 5 that when we add or subtract them, they give us 6, 5, and 1. Since it's positive, both of them should be positive. Therefore, what are the values of x? X is minus 5 or x is minus 1. So you just have to be very smart when it comes to this one. Look at this. Let's go back because when I look at this, we need to choose if between these two questions, between these two values, which one is the value of q. But you just have to do this by, I'm not sure if I can say common sense or by inspection. I just don't want to. So if I look at this, already this is, look at this. Already this is minus 3. This is minus 3. Meaning that this q, the value of q, it can never be it can never be greater than 3. It should be less than 3, which is minus 5 will be the correct one. Then minus 1 is somewhere there. So minus 5 is the correct one. So this is the value of q. That's the x value of q. So since we have the x value of q, we need to find the corresponding what? The corresponding y value. How can we do that? We can use one of this equation. I can choose the easiest one, which is this one. Y is equal to where there's x, we put minus 5 plus 2, therefore y will be minus 3. The corresponding, it's minus 3. So the value of q will be that minus 5 and minus 3. Easy. That's it. Let's look at the next question. Write down the equation of the vertical asymptote of g at x plus 4. Okay, so when they want the equation, first thing first, find the new graph before you can do anything there. If you still remember, your g at x, the original g at x was 4 over x plus 3 minus 1. Okay, so where does x, because this is g at x, where does x, we put x plus 4. Therefore, the new g at x will be 4 over, where does x, I'm going to put x plus 4, then we still have plus 3 minus 1. And let's add to the like terms. This will be 4 over x plus 7. X plus 7 minus 1. That's your g at x. The question said, find the equation of the vertical asymptote. If you still go back and if you still remember, if you were paying attention at what I was saying earlier on, we said that the vertical asymptote, we find it by taking the denominator and equate it to 0. That's how you find the vertical asymptote. So this is what I'm going to apply here to find the vertical asymptote. So x plus 3 equated to 0. X plus 7, I mean. Equate that to 0, therefore the answer will be minus 7 as your vertical asymptote. Wow, I think you guys are really enjoying this one. Eh? That was an easy question. How many marks for this question for? 14 marks. Okay, there it is. You have it. Now you understand how this works, okay? Okay, grade 11s. Pre-matrix. Look at this, guys. This one, this is question 5. It has to do with exponential equations. Determine the coordinates of the y-intercept of h. We are given h at x. So you are given h at x. So this is h at x. It's equals to minus 3 to the x minus 1. So we need to find the y-intercept if x is 0. So where does x, we put 0, meaning that the y is equal to minus 3 to the power 0 minus 1. And when you do that, what is that equals to? Any number to the power 0 is 1, right? So that will be minus 1. So this will just be minus 1, which is minus 2. Minus 2. So this tells you that the x-intercept will be 0. I'm very sorry about that, will be 0 and minus 2. That's it. The next question, explain why H does not have an x-intercept. So this is an easy, guys. In most cases, when you find the asymptote to be negative and the value of A is negative, just note that your graph, the asymptote is below the x-axis. Let me just write the answer, then I'll explain when I do the drawing, because look at this, draw the sketch. So we'll explain on number C. So here we are saying that the asymptote, the reason it does not have the x, the reason it won't touch is because of the asymptote is below. The asymptote is below what? Is below the x-axis. Okay, let me quickly do the drawing so that you guys can understand. So let me try by explaining. Remember that exponential function is in the form of a times b to the x plus q. So if the value of a is less than 0, just note that if the value of a is less than 0 and b, let's say that b is greater than 0, or should we say it's greater than 1? B is greater than 1. Your graph will look like this. Your graph will look like this, something like that. Né? So let's quickly draw the graph. First thing first, you're going to draw the asymptote, which is minus 1. This is your asymptote. So it's at minus 1. So if this is minus 1, I'm going to put my asymptote there. And then the y-intercept, it's at 0 and minus 2. This is what we just calculated. This is your y-intercept at 0 and minus 2. So minus 2 is somewhere here. So the graph looks like this. I hope you guys are enjoying this one. So now you need to show that y is minus 1. And then you also have to show the x-intercept, because there's a mark for that. So label also your graph and say this is the graph of h at x minus 1. So, and that's it for this one. You'll definitely get your, how many marks? 3 marks. So you'll definitely get your 3 marks for the shape, for the y-intercept, and for the asymptote. So you can see that if we go back to B, the reason it does not have the x-intercept is because the asymptote is below the x-axis. So if the asymptote was plus 1, then that's when we were going to have the x and the y-intercept. Okay, describe the transformation. When they want you to describe the transformation, you just have to look at what changes from the previous question. So if you look at the previous graph, it's minus 3 to the power x minus 1. So this one is minus 3 to the power minus x. So the x is the one that changes the sign. So if the x is the one that changes, just note that this is the reflection about the y-axis. So this will be the reflection about the y-axis. And if your graph changes, the y, then you're gonna say this is the reflection about the x-axis. Okay, I hope you guys are enjoying this question. Ladies and gents, Andrew Yawa. This is the last question of question 5. There will be part 2 where I'll be doing question 6 all the way to question 10. Andrew Yawa, ladies and gents. I've been teaching. Now I'm just gonna stop here. I'll comment part 2 of this lesson on the, I'll also put part 2 of the lesson on the description. So if you see this lesson maybe after I upload and you don't see the description for the link for part 2, please make sure that you come back later on that, because there will be definitely part 2 where we'll be doing question 6 to question 10. The link will be on the description. Wow, guys, I had so much fun. And if this is your first time watching my lessons and you really enjoyed this one, please make sure that you join the family, subscribe to the channel, and we'll make sure that you feel at home. Thank you very much, guys, for watching.